common dietary approaches to treating SIBO is the low FODMAP diet. So this is an acronym that basically stands for various fermentable carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates aren't necessarily the enemy for everyone. In fact, a lot of them are your large intestinal bacteria's favorite foods. The problem is with SIBO is that it's a locational issue. So you have that bacteria in the wrong place. And when it goes to town on some of these carbohydrates, it produces gas, and therefore the signature bloating and distension that you see so often with SIBO. The tricky thing, though, about the low FODMAP diet is that it's not kind of a black and white approach. In fact, it's a lot more about quantity than the particular ingredient itself. So if you want a cheat sheet, you can look online. There are a lot of lists of high FODMAP foods and low FODMAP foods. But today I want to take you through some of the foods that can be low and can be high depending on the quantity. Okay, let's start by talking about broccoli. So broccoli is low FODMAP in 1 cup serves of the entire vegetable, meaning some parts stalks, some parts floret. But the floret itself, the head, has less FODMAPs than the stalks. If you were to eat an entire cup of just the stalks, you might experience symptoms. So something to keep in mind. If you're just looking at the stalks, keep it to about half a cup. The whole one, you can do a full cup. And if it's really just, the head florets themselves, you might be able to do a little bit more. But otherwise, you're going to have excess fructose. Chickpeas. So we normally think about legumes and pulses being totally off limits for a low FODMAP diet, but certain types, especially chickpeas that are canned, that's very important, can be used in small quantities. So about 1/4 of a cup is a low FODMAP serve. Anything more than that, and you're going to have excess GOS, galacto-oligosaccharides. Green beans. Let's talk about green beans because that's a little bit of a complicated one. So a low FODMAP serve is 15 green beans, which, you're not going to be sitting at dinner counting out all your green beans. So just roughly look at the size of this and try and emulate that. Also, if you're doing a recipe, it's about a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup when it's diced like this. So something just to keep in mind. But if you have more than this, say around 25 beans, then you're going to have excess sorbitol. Okay, next, the subject of nuts and seeds. They all have kind of various quantities to keep in mind, but really you want to keep your serving to a very small handful. You can see here that the serving for almonds are 10 almonds. Again, you could count that out, or you can just put it into your hand and you'll see like a small palmful. It's also almost the exact same quantity as 1 tablespoon for the almonds. And since once they're pulsed and created meal, it can be a little bit more fluffy. You can get away with 1/4 of a cup of almond meal or flour. So sweet potato. It is high FODMAP because of excess mannitol in serves of more than 3/4 of a cup. But half a cup, as you can see here, is totally fine. And in fact, you might be able to get away with a little bit more when they're diced like this, but think about it with half a cup of mashed sweet potato, roasted sweet potato, or whatnot. And for this 1 pound sweet potato, it's about 1/4 of a pound total, so about 1/4 of a large sweet potato like this. So if you see a vegetable or an ingredient on the medium FODMAP list, don't rule it out entirely. As you can see, these quantities are totally doable. You can sprinkle these chickpeas on your salad, mix it into soups. This is actually a really nice side of green beans. And these almonds, once you cut them up, perfect crunchy topping for a salad or a soup as well. And these broccoli is quite a healthy amount. So you can do a lot with just what's on this cutting board, and don't overly fixate or worry too much about measuring. Just use your eyeballs, take in what you think is about the right amount, and then see what happens.